Har, former intelligence officer in the Royal Canadian Navy, wrote a book called Satan, Prince of this World, in which he gives this information. He said that he received this information from a book written by Cardinal Caro Rodriguez in Santiago, Chile, who wrote in 1925 a book called The Mystery of Freemasonry Unveiled. And in this book, in 1925, it is said that he wrote a letter to a man named Mazzini in which he described this dream. And in the dream, he predicted 3 world wars. The First World War, he said, must be brought about, and I'm quoting from Albert Pike. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and German empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Now, students of history will know that Otto von Bismarck forged certain alliances between 1871 and 1898, which brought about this war, this World War I. And Otto von Bismarck here says that he was a co-conspirator with Albert Pike, and he was the one instrumental in bringing about the First World War. Well, that's the First World War. Then he dreams that there must be, he is given in this visionary dream, a Second World War. Now remember, this was in 1925 that it became public in this book written by a cardinal from Santiago, Chile, Rodriguez. He says, quote, "The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism will be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm." Well, there are some who may argue that the terms Nazism and Zionism were not known in 1871. You should remember, however, that the Illuminati invented both of these movements. In addition, communism as an ideology and as a coined phrase originates in France during the Revolution. In 1785, Restif coined the phrase 4 years before the Revolution broke out. Restif and Babeuf, in turn, were influenced by Rosé, as was the most famous conspirator.
Ain't that interesting? Isn't that what Rick Ross is always yelling out? Rosé? Call me Rosé. This whole war was influenced by Rosé.
Of them all, Adam Weishaupt. Then he has this vision, in this vision, not only 1 world war and 2 world wars, but here comes the 3rd World War. He says, and I quote, "The 3rd World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic."
Did you get that? They just said these wars are going to be between the 2 agents of, how do you say that? The 2 agents of, hold on, let me make sure I get that right.
3rd World War. He says, and I quote, "The 3rd World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati."
The differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati, which we know the Illuminati's founders, Adam Weishaupt and his mentor were Jesuits, so it goes back to Catholic and Christendom.
Between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. Yeah, that's what he says. The war, this was 1925. Please understand that. At least 1925. It may go all the way back to 1871, as is purported to do, but at least it was written in a book and published in 1925. So he says, back after World War I was just over a few years, and before World War II even started, He's now thinking about this Third World War, and it says that it will be caused by the differences between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's what it says. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm in which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin and savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So he's against Christianity and he's against atheism. They're supposed to fight each other to the death, you see. Then, he says, everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowledge where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's what he says. Brought finally out in the public view. So he's saying that Lucifer will finally make himself, the good guy. He's going to save the world from these atheists who don't believe in deity and from these Christians who believe in the good God. Well, so it says, this manifestation will result in the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same.
So what I'm trying to point out is just be careful, because if you like me and you started growing out your hair and your beard and stuff like that, one thing that's happening to me is people are confusing me a lot of the times for being a Muslim. I went back to South Carolina, and first thing I've seen when I came across some of the old people I used to know is they asked me, "Hey Melvin, are you a Muslim? Are you trying to copy Malcolm X?" And then it brought back what Lex had said when he said, that people that join the GOCC, be careful, because you start dressing a certain way and people confuse that for people of ignorance. They confuse that for being a Muslim. And I can almost see our people getting suckered into this movement where, with radical Islam coming to America, then everyone just assumes, well, if you're black, with Farrakhan and all that, you must be Muslim, and it's shoot first and ask questions later. Because one thing that's going on over in Europe, the white militia, aka their version of the KKK, right? They've been going into neighborhoods where the Muslims are, which they don't show you that these Muslims are black, as well as the other people they show you are traditional Muslims. They've been going into these neighborhoods and they're killing people. They're just going out, shooting them up and killing them. And, they're saying it's justified because Muslims are raping their women and stuff like that. So I can see the boys over here, their version of the KKK over here, saying, all right, well, they're doing that and they're getting away with it, why can't we? You should check that out. They're like arming themselves with their guns and everything, and they're just running into these neighborhoods and like they're playing a video game, and they're just shooting and killing at people. Anybody they say is a Muslim. So I'm just saying, be careful. Don't get suckered into it. Try your best not to. I know soon it won't matter, because, it just seems as if, with the social engineers like, what's his name, Henry Kissinger and George Soros, the way they're manipulating Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter is like they're okay with it because they're funding them. So we can see our people getting manipulated, getting suckered into being the targets again, and not even know that it's been written that this was going to happen. You just wait until all the people that believe in Jesus, you wait until all these Christians, start ending up living through what they call the Revelation, the book of Revelation, right? And they're here when the mark of the beast is going down, because that's what they're being shown right now. They're here when you can't buy anything, without the stamps and blah, blah, blah. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to turn back to the Amish. They're going to turn back to the Klan. They're going to turn back to all these people who've been waiting for this to happen, not realizing that they're being headed up by the Catholic Church. So either way, you're going to be controlled by Catholicism. You just don't know it, right? And we already seen those videos where they're in their temples or whatever you want to call it, and they're praying with their incense and they're singing songs to Lucifer, walking down the aisle. So I'm just saying be careful, because there's a clash and we're being engineered toward that clash. Anyways, it's MW Smith and I'm out.